All right, man. So let's talk sample snitching.
Okay.
AI is out here in these streets.
Stop following me like that. We're gonna be fighting out here.
You and Allen Iverson?
Not
Allen Iverson, man.
shout out to that AI. AI is just fine. He ain't in the streets. But this artificial intelligence, yeah. But this new stuff is getting bad out here. So there's a Discord group that has found a huge sampling loophole, right? So when I say huge, once I read it, you'll see what I'm talking about. And the lead-in says the days of hiding samples are over. A community of sample hunters discovered a smart way to utilize Google Assistant's song recognition. Did I say it right? Recognition. Sorry, recognition. To excavate samples. Even chops less than a second long aren't safely camouflaged from it. This is crazy. Lone, you know how small some of these chops are. So if this can be detected, it's a wrap.
This is a long article that I'm going to want to read.
Check this out. It says
I'm going to post this in our Discord. So if you're following along at home or anywhere you're at, you can join our Discord and find this article. So
check this out. A member, there's a sample hunting member named DJ Pasta who found out a new way to utilize the technology to the fullest. This is what he said. He said, I figured out a method to run audio directly from my PC into Google Assistant with a software called BlueStacks. He said, I was mostly trying to find out a few Todd Edwards samples that he had been looking for. And he says, to his surprise, Google Assistant's song recognition found most of the samples, no matter if they were chopped up, small, loops. This is crazy. You already have sites like Who Sampled.
Yeah, more snitching.
But now AI can just find it. It's almost like Shazam. You know, you can Shazam and find the name of the record.
Yeah.
The way he just described it from a technical standpoint, I would have never thought that. That's more something I think Lone would probably have stumbled up on just out of our personalities because he's MacGyver when it comes to that. But Lone as a producer and somebody that chops samples very well and just has, you've produced for a long time. What's up with this, man? How does this make you feel? Are you interested? I'm
kind of oblivious to it too. Here's what I'll say. Okay. I literally had this conversation. Now, for those who's listening that don't know, even though I think everybody that's listening probably does know, I teach music production.
Talk to them.
And so every once in a while, like in the amateur course or the second 12 weeks of the class that I teach, we talk about sampling pretty extensively. And in that, literally in the last week, I was talking about how I started off as a sample producer. That's what I did, but I don't really sample much anymore because I know how technology's going. And it makes way more sense if you can create dope stuff without samples to go that route, because the legal ramifications that you could potentially run into down the line is something I don't even want to think about dealing with anymore.
Especially if the record pops off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But even if it doesn't. So think about where we're at right now, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're listening and you're a musician and if you're listening and you're a musician, you still may not know this, but YouTube has a content ID system. Mm-hmm. And the content ID system is ran actually through a third party for most labels, and it's really good, and it has been really good. So if you have a song with samples in it already, YouTube can already pick up. I'm all over the place, but let me tell you a story just from back in 2014. I had an album that I did, an instrumental project that I put on YouTube, and it was called Reverb. And on this, I chopped the sample, and I don't remember what it was, but I used a loop in the beginning portion of it. And I had it uploaded to YouTube. 2 years later, I got a copyright notification on this song, not from the original artist, but from somebody else who had chopped it the same portion that I had.
Wait, say that again.
So I had chopped this record.
Okay.
From a sample from the 70s. It was an Italian sample. And another person chopped the same exact thing, looped it up. And it wasn't a chop, it was more like a loop. Uh-huh. And what they did is they had Content ID attached to their project. I didn't. So my song, every time it gets played, pays this person.
Wow.
So if you think about it from that angle, this is 5, 6, 7 years ago. That was the moment for me where I was like, oh, okay. If this is a thing, I definitely need to move faster towards making my stuff more original, because don't get me wrong, I still sample, but I don't loop.
That's what I was about to say.
I haven't looped in a very long time. It's stuff pieced together. And not only do I always loop, I'm always destroying the sound in some way, and I'm always chopping it up, and I'm always pitching it and doing that. That's the way around it right now. You can still get it. I'm sitting here telling people how to cheat the system, but
it's all right though. They gonna get this game. Give them the game.
But that's how you do it. If you're sampling a producer, you don't just take the record and just loop. It's just like using sample packs.
Oh yeah.
You don't just use the sample pack and drop it in and put a drum break on it. No, that's not smart at all. One, it's neither here nor there, but that's not smart. Just from a business side standpoint of music production. But no, it's this doesn't even surprise me. I knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. The systems are already out there. The fact that, to be honest, this technology's probably already been out there for a minute.
What about his method when he talked about running audio directly from his PC into Google Assistant and using BlueStacks? And does that? I mean, it's all the end results the same, right?
So, I mean, what's going to happen is that this is going to turn into some sort of software that it's just going to run automatically. So is it? I didn't read. Is this running? This is working through a Discord server right now, right?
The Discord is just a group of people that just hunt samples.
Oh, okay.
So one of them stumbled up on this. So it was just conversation in Discord. So whatever the group is, this DJ Pasta person figured this out.
The technology has kind of already been there for a long time. It's just figuring out how to present it to people.
If I'm not mistaken, in this article, he came up on this, I think in 2022, like later portion of 2022. He said, but it wasn't until mid 2022 that Google's song recognition turned from another mid Shazam alternative to groundbreaking discovery. So
think about the other AI stuff that's brand new. Like when you talk about Serato stems, to where you can stem out songs now in a DJ program, which is a great tool.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, if you reverse engineer that and think about, okay, well, if the technology can break all this stuff down by element, drum, kick, snare, vocals, hi-hat, vocal, melody, piano. Imagine reversing that around. The technology is already there to detect what those things are. So
now you can't even steal drums. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Even to his point, it's like, can you use breaks now? Like break beats. Will it find those too? Will it start finding those?
Well, I mean, technically,
pretty much already there.
Less breakbeats.
More samples over breakbeats.
Realistically, breakbeats should fall into the same category as sampling. When you sample a breakbeat, you're still sampling.
True.
It's just not looked at as much. Like the people that are like anti-sampling don't really care as much about that because there's never been a way to really detect it. Now, what I will say is this. Here's the difference. The reason why all these things can be picked up is because they have a frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really kind of frequency based. Drums do have frequencies, but technically speaking, the difference between, let's say I'm getting super technical here, the difference between a kick drum and an 808 drum is what? It's a bass frequency in there, right?
Right.
So if a kick drum is just like a thump from like a kick pedal, an 808 is a kick pedal plus a bass note being played. So there's like literally a frequency on it, but there's really no like resonating frequency on a lot of these breakbeat sounds, especially if they're tweaked a little bit. So as far as like being able to pick up on frequency, it's more pattern based as opposed to frequency based. I know it's getting super nerdy.
It's all right.
It's super nerdy right now.
It's all right.
But as far as like the drums are concerned, I think you'd be okay using them for the most part. But I look at this and I'm taking up too much time, but I feel like realistically looking at this is something that I don't think it should scare anybody. I think people should look at this in a way, unless maybe you have a historic catalog and you're somebody that was making records in the 80s and the 90s and stuff like that, right? It's problematic in more than just in a handful of ways, and the ethics around it are a very interesting conversation because we talk about how hip hop was created and the necessity to sample records to create music to begin with, right?
Foundation.
It's the foundation of it. So that's why sample snitching is such frowned upon by a lot of people that were around in that era, because I came after that era, but I understand like the roots of it, right?
What was the Gang Starr record where after the song goes off, Primo comes back on and you hear him saying, stop talking.
That's on Moment of Truth.
Moment of Truth. Yeah, like where he just comes in, he's like, man, stop telling, about the sample. I'm paraphrasing, but, stop snitching on these records and stuff like that.
Discovering the sample is one thing, but to expose, where I got it from or whatever, I'm just not with that, so I think it's whack, for so many different reasons.
But to Lone's point about that always being a part of it.
This is the real repercussions of sample snitching culture, is that these legends that you love sampling for in the first place, you're going to mess up their bag. Mm-hmm. You're going to get them sued by these companies based upon what they're doing for the culture that you love.
Like, imagine someone said, hey, we're going to start running old hip hop albums through this algorithm and through this AI. And
let's see what we can find.
We're going to find out everything that, the Bomb Squad used on Nation of Millions. Yep. We're going to find out everything that was used on Paul's Boutique.
And they're going to retroactively go back.
And they're going to retroactively, like, say if it could be something new, or it might be a small indie release, and then like somebody decides, and what it does, it incentivizes corporate interest. And like this could be me just taking it there. Is it incentivizes corporate interest to make sure this AI is perfected, and they run every new hip hop album through this to see if there's any money that they are owed.
So to that point, that's already happening with YouTube's Content ID. It's already happening. So there, even with my distributor that I work with, I had an incident a couple years ago to where I had to reach out to them because they took all my Content ID off of everything because something had a match on it. I was like, okay, I didn't realize that, and I got it worked out with them. But I have certain releases that I have released already through my label that have no Content ID match on them at all, and other ones that do. And the reason behind it is because they don't want to deal with the legal troubles that are going to potentially come from those potential issues, because it's not just YouTube. There's a third-party company that's out there that runs all these Content ID checks and everything. It's big business already. So to Jay's point, it's already happening. The thing that worries me is how it can affect. I think moving forward, I think we have a path, but I think the thing that is kind of like controversial to me is like it could screw up people's livelihoods that built an entire career, built an entire, like, sampling was made off of something that was doing something that was technically illegal, right? But it created an entire culture out of it. And so
and remember also that as sampling grew and became lucrative or more lucrative for the artists, whoever was sampling, it also became a thing where the artists were starting to get their just due and get their royalties and get paid for these samples too, which is like, it didn't start off that way, but people they tell you now, like, don't sample Stevie. He's going to crack you over the head. Don't even think about it, right? If they find it, you're about to get cracked over the head.
And plus, Stevie doesn't want, he has to personally approve of your sample.
Aretha Franklin was like that. Like, if she didn't agree with the content or what you was talking about, she wouldn't clear.
We talked about how if you listen to like School Spirit off of Kanye's first album, and you're like, why is this the one song that's censored? Is because that was something that was a stipulation of being able to clear that sample through Aretha.
Or we talked about
Miss Fat Booty.
Yes, Mos Def. Yeah.
I mean, there's only one curse word in that song, but if you buy the album, the unedited version of the album, that one song is censored.
I'll be honest with you, Lone. The whole article, I'm not necessarily shocked because I know everything that you talked about has been trending that way. What threw me off was the small samples being recognized as small chops. Now that kind of threw me for a loop there, because we've always thought, man, if you chop it up, you filter it, you whatever,
right,
you should be straight. That's the running theme, like you talk about. But dude, if they can start finding the chops, that's
a whole
different thing.
That takes the thing that I was talking about of putting people's livelihoods, because there's a whole bunch of producers. I think that's realistically, I mean, look, chopping stuff up, there is this inherent that music producers have when they chop records, saying, I'm going to flip this. It's not just because they love chopping records. It's also there's a mysteriousness about it, so that one, can this person figure it out? And two, can I hide it in case somebody's going to come after me? That's just there, right? Yep. And so this is opening that conversation up even that much more. Like, if you can find it just off 1 second, that's crazy.
That's scary, man.
But I think the solution is if you're a producer that does this, is you just have to get more creative with your chops. You have to start pitching stuff. You have to
Filters.
legitimately make it your own in that aspect. And not saying that chopping in any specific way isn't doing that, but you have to legitimately change it to the point to where it is not recognizable.
Yeah.
That's the only solution. And realistically, I think that's probably a good way to go, because then don't get me wrong, I'm not here advocating for people to steal people's music and make a bunch of money off of it. Like if I sample Aerosmith and it's like literally the drums of Walk This Way, you know what I mean? And then I make 1 million records, I expect them to sue me.
There's no doubt about it.
And they should.
They should.
You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that that's not a thing. I'm just saying, like, you know, there's multiple nuance and levels here.
The saying used to be, don't worry about it until they come get you. That's over with.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Oh yeah, that was over.
On any level you can with today's technology. I don't care who you are.
Look, that was over with after the Turtles came after De La Soul on their first album.
Oh.
Okay, that was you know, that was a wrap for that.
I forgot about that.
But
they came at their head.
But to your point, with technology, you know, like, it's getting to the point now, and it might actually get to that point sooner than later, that you can maybe chop up a record if they start instituting technology like this into these content ID platforms. They might just deny you might not even be able to hit streaming platforms.
True.
They might just cut you off right there and be like, you can't upload this because this has a copyright connected to this, and we've already automatically have a database of everybody that's connected to.
It's already flagged. It's already flagged.
It's already going to be flagged off the top, and so the stuff that you work so hard on.
Now imagine
give it away for free.
Imagine it being the 1st of March, and you work on a project from March until August. Submitted in September. It's 12 records. 8 of them get flagged and you can't upload your project.
Well, yeah, that's
what I mean. Like, could you?
That's now.
That's that. So what I'm saying is this is happening, and Gobinator's in the chat. We've had this conversation before.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of times in the early days when I was kind of anti-sample pack and stuff like that, it's not that I'm anti-sample pack. It's just like you're setting yourself up to fail if you just use a sample and you're not like a pack from a sample or just a song, and you're not flipping it in some crazy type of way. So be smart, you know.
Read if you're a producer or a musician or whatever on these sample packs. Please read the fine print in terms of licensing and what happens if and what numbers need to be hit before they come after this or that. Because what I've noticed with some of those is a lot of people will just jump in, and I'm like, dude, you might want to read the specifics before you use the sample pack, because it can come back to hurt you if you don't read it. And some of them, like I saw a couple of them, and there's a huge PDF. And it breaks down levels of success, basically, and when we gonna come for you. Yeah. Right? So if you ignore that and just get to chopping, you might get a surprise. For real.
Yeah, I mean, it's just got to think about it ahead of time. And another thing I'll say really quickly for all those that are interested in this nerd talk is right now Content ID pretty much works. I've seen it work as quick as 4 or 5 seconds, but most of the time it works between 8 and 15. Sometimes it doesn't kick until 15 and 20, 25 seconds. But imagine if that starts happening at just 1 second. You know what I mean? And that creates issues not only for musicians,
but for content creators.
But content creators like us, because, or just like anybody, because you're going to get flagged all over the place. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing.
No more reaction videos.
Or unless you have, exactly.
Unless you have license to do so.
Yeah. So it's going to change the whole scape. The meta is going to change and continually change. So
we always talk about, and this is not necessarily as it relates to production, but just, the space that we're in as creatives, and, we always talk about evolution. Stuff changes so fast now. Everything that you're talking about, Lone, dude, it could either be in place, if it isn't already, in the next year, or it might be something completely different from what this article is talking about within the next year. Yeah. Like that's where we are.
The interesting thing is maybe this technology where it can find everything by a fraction of a second already exists.
It might.
But maybe they don't implement it because of what type of impact it's going to have, not only on music, but like content creation and the storm that it's going to create from not just musicians, but like
the ramifications would be, if they, like you said, if this was a rollout, it'd be crazy.
Imagine YouTube's like customer service if all of a sudden like 3 million or 500 million creators get copyright claims against stuff that should be fair use.
I wouldn't,
but isn't. So that's the kind of Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't want to be in that building.
Yeah.
I'd say that.
Smooth Hoosier says, do y'all always know where your samples come from? I would say early on when I was sampling all the time, no, I couldn't tell you. I
keep track now.
I keep a folder of, I literally have a folder and I would just like scroll through. It's just like digging for records.
Yep.
And whenever I found something good, I would drag it in. And so it's like, it was a multi-step process for me to where like I would spend time going and find albums, putting them on my hard drive. And then when it was creation time, I would just scroll through and find stuff. So there's records I put out. I don't know where they came from.
I usually, I do the exact same thing, but I always make sure that it's not, sometimes they used to have sites, blogs where you could just download, you know how we will find albums that are just posted. You can scroll through like blog posts. Yeah. You'll have them categorized by years, right? So you go in and you grab an album. Sometimes I've opened some of those folders where they'll have the exact titles of the records. Sometimes it'll be number 1, song A, number 2, song B. I stayed away from those because it's like, I don't know if this track list is right. When you put it in Ableton, you can see the name of the song on the wave. So if you get out here sampling and going crazy and you don't know where the record came from, what happens?
Yeah, that goes into you being upset at me being organized.
Definitely, 100%.
Because everything that I've ever downloaded like that in the past,
the step I should have taken was downloaded it and then researched the track list to make sure everything matched.
Yeah,
but what organized people do.
Yeah, I guess. And Smooth Hoosier says, just wondering if it would not seem fair to be sued for a sample you didn't know what you're using. I understand that, but at the same time, like you're doing it, you as the producer, you have to do your due diligence.
Yep. Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care. Yeah, they don't care.
Like, I didn't know. It's like, well, you about to find out.
You about to find out, 100%. Yep. Yeah. So just hold this L. We'll see you in court.
Yep.
And then, because still the wildest story to me is, when Lord Tariq and Peter Guns did Deja Vu.
Oh, man.
And they got found out. Too. It's like, okay, you can keep it out. You can put it on your album, but we get 100% of your publishing and songwriting.
Yep. So basically, they just gave
members of Steely Dan wrote that entire song. There's no songwriting credit for the one song, your one hit on your,
When I tell you that's the record I know them for, that's the record.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, that's the record.
And they put out some more records after that, but
they ain't hit like that one.
It didn't hit like that. And so one song that you have that's a hit, you do not get any publishing, no song, no mechanicals, nothing. It says somebody else wrote it.
And you got to realize that was the culture at the time.
Yeah.
It's not like they were doing anything that other people weren't doing. So it just happened to pop, and it just happened to be.
It went from white label to being put out on. It happened so fast they didn't get the paperwork in order.
So the only person that actually kind of ate from the transaction was the producer that maybe got a fee for the beat up front. After that, everybody else don't get anything.
Yeah, after that, no. It's
what I'm saying?
Steely Dan,
that is a Steely Dan song. If Steely Dan wanted to put that on their greatest hits album or anthology,
if I was them, I would. If I'd just be petty and put that mug on there because they got 100%. What Peter Gunn's gonna say?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
That's why he's doing reality TV shows.
That's definitely what he's doing. Whatever happened to Corey Guns, man? He used to.
That's Peter Guns.
No, I'm talking about whatever happened to his son, Corey Guns.
Oh, that was his son?
Yeah, correct. You didn't know that was Peter Guns' son.
I didn't
his
know
name was Corey Guns.
I mean,
Corey Guns can rap though.
900 littles all there.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah. Corey Guns can rap though. He has some.
Yeah,
I mean, he must have got lost in the shuffle of all that,
blog area.
Lil Wayne, Cash Money, whatever.
Hey, that was a time. All right, man. So we got about. I don't know what noise that was.
I'm gonna come back and read this article because this
article is dope, bro.
Super interesting.
Yeah, this article is dope. I knew you'd like this one.